And so tonight, I believe we're on text 22 in chapter 8, correct? Purushasa paraparta bhaktya labhyas devanananya yasyanta sthani bhutani yena sarvam idam tatam. Purusha, the personality of Godhead. Sa, he, para, the supreme, than whom no one is greater. Partha, O son of Prita. Bhaktya, by devotional service. Labhya, can be achieved. To, but. Ananyaya, unalloyed, undeviating. Yasya, whom. Antastani, within. Bhutani, all of this material manifestation. Yena, by whom? Sarvam, all. Idam, whatever we can see. Tatam, is pervaded. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is greater than all, is attainable by unalloyed devotion. Although he is present in his abode, he is all-pervading, and everything is situated within him. Please repeat. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is greater than all, is attainable by unalloyed devotion. Although he is present in his abode, he is all-pervading, and everything is situated within him. And Srila Prabhupada's purport. It is here clearly stated that the supreme destination from which there is no return is the abode of Krishna, the Supreme Person. The Brahma Samhita describes the supreme abode as Ananda Chinmayi Ras, a place where everything is full of spiritual bliss. All the variegatedness manifested there is of the quality of spiritual bliss. Nothing there is material. That variegatedness is expanded as the spiritual expansion of the Supreme Godhead Himself. For the manifestation there is totally of the spiritual energy, as explained in chapter 7. As far as this material world is concerned, although the Lord is always in His supreme abode, He is nonetheless all-pervading by His material energy. So by His spiritual and material energies, He is present everywhere, both in the material and in the spiritual universes. Yasyanta Stani means that everything is sustained within Him, within either His spiritual or material energy. The Lord is all-pervading by these two energies. To enter Krishna's supreme abode or the innumerable Vaikuntha planets is possible only by bhakti, devotional service, as clearly indicated here by the word bhaktya. No other process can help one attain the supreme abode. The Vedas, Gopala-tapani, Upanishad 3.2 also describes the supreme abode and the supreme personality of Godhead. Ekovasi Savagata Krishna. In that abode there is only one supreme personality of Godhead, whose name is Krishna. He is a supreme merciful deity, and although situated there as one, He has expanded Himself into millions and millions of plenary expansions. The Vedas compare the Lord to a tree standing still yet bearing many varieties of fruits, flowers, and changing leaves. The plenary expansions of the Lord who preside over the Vaikuntha planets are four-armed, and they are known by a variety of names: Purushottama, Trivikram, Keshava, Madhava, Aniruddha, Hrishikesh, Shankarshan, Padumya, Sridhar, Vasudev, Damodar, Janardhan, Narayana, Vamana, Padmava, etc. The Brahma Samhita 537 also confirms that although the Lord is always in the supreme abode, Goloka Vrindavan, He is all-pervading, so that everything is going on nicely. Goloka eva nivasya akhilatma bhuta. As stated in the Vedas, Svetavarta Upanishad 6.8, Parasya Shaktir Vividhaiva Suryate Swabhaviki Janabala Kriyacha. His energies are so expansive that they systematically conduct everything in the cosmic manifestation without a flaw, although the Supreme Lord is far, far away. John. So, in the beginning of this chapter, Arjuna asked several questions. And one of them was, how can those engaged in devotional service know you at the time of death? Which is a very important question for all of us, because we want to be sure we go to the right place at the time of death. And Krishna explains throughout this chapter it's by devotional service. There's other yoga practices, and he elaborates a little bit on how one has to sit erect and bring up their life force, bring up to the top of their head. And Srila Prabhupada expands that a little further in a lecture he gave about how the sun is estimated to be moving about 16,000 miles per second. And that through the yoga process, you can astrologically calculate what's the best time to leave the planet, to die. Just like you calculate astrologically your birth, and it tells you how your birth, how your life will go, who you'll marry, what kind of life you'll have, how much money you'll have, blah, 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 all this stuff. So similarly, at the time of death, if one calculates it properly, one can determine the best time to leave. And of course, the sun has to be in the northern hemisphere. And so if one leaves at that time, they can actually break through into the spiritual realm. Prabhupada said this is very risky, because there can be no clouds. Clouds can come at any time. So one should be very careful, because this is a very risky way. And the Jnani way, too, is also very risky, because one has to know the Vedas so well and then be able to chant the Om mantra in order to go back to Godhead. But Krishna so nicely gives us in his words how to perform devotional service in the Bhagavad-Gita. And Srila Prabhupada explains that this material world is just a small fraction of the whole creation of Krishna's. And just like in a city, you may have a beautiful city, but they'll have a prison. All cities have some prison. And this prison will be dreary, especially for the residents. And that for those who have to live in the prison, they can't just leave whenever they want. They can't just go out into the city. So similarly, that's for the inhabitants of this material world. They cannot just go into the spiritual sky whenever they want because of this material covering. But this spiritual sky is so beautiful, the Brahma Samhita describes, that it's supreme, and there's Ananda Chinmayi Ras everywhere, this spiritual energy. The cows are Kamadhenu, and the trees are wish-fulfilling, Kapravrikshas. But the inhabitants of the spiritual sky are not interested in any abundance of material or any abundance of spiritual wealth even. Their concern is the service to Krishna. There's endless amounts of variegatedness, and they use that in serving Krishna. And just like in each country you go to, there's a predominating person. Here in India, it's Modi. In America, it's Trump. But the next election, there's be so many rivals, right? So many rivals to these two personalities. But in the spiritual sky, there's only Krishna. And there are never any rivals. If there's a rival, they have to go to the material world. So there's no rivals for Krishna. And he says in the Bhagavad-Gita, Atah Shri Krishna Narmadi, by me, in me, unmanifested form, by me, in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. And in 10:19, the Supreme Lord says, yes, I will tell you of my splendorous manifestations, but only of those which are prominent. O Arjuna, for my opulence is unlimited. And so he goes on to explain some of his opulences, because they're so vast that he cannot even explain them all in a short time to Arjuna. So he explains that, we have these planets floating in space, nothing to hold them up. But because Krishna enters the planet, they're able to go in this orbit and stay in this orbit, perfect orbit. And he's also, he tells us how he's the fire of digestion. So the foodstuffs that's provided for the living entities, he helps them to digest it, to nourish them, so they can grow, so they can develop, so they can heal. And he's seated in everyone's heart, and from him comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Ya mam prapadyante tam staiva prajamyaham mam vavartam vartante manusya partha sarvasya. As all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Partha. So this Supreme Person, who is maintaining everything, he's controlling everything, he's created everything. He's the most opulent, he's the most knowledgeable, he's the most beautiful, he's the most renounced, he's the strongest, most famous. He's telling us how to come to him. And he tells us that for one who always remembers me without deviation, I'm easy to attain because of his constant engagement in devotional service. And Rupa Goswami is so kind, who leads this process of devotional service. He gives us the definition of devotional service in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. He tells us it's anyabhilasita sunyam, yanam karmani anartvitam, anukalena krishnanu, silam bhaktir uttama. So rendering service that is favorable to the Lord, this service is free, completely free of any extraneous motive or fruit of karma or impersonal jnana and all other selfish desires. It's a cultivation. It takes time, but it's a practical activity. There's no sentiment. There's no speculation. There's no imaginary ecstasy. It's using the body, words, and mind in the service of the Lord continuously. This chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, is so perfect for us in this age. There are no hard and fast rules. It's like learning to walk, to learn our relationship with Krishna. When a baby is little and he starts to turn over and he starts pushing himself up with his hands and then his legs, his parents get so excited. Now, all of the healthy children learn to walk eventually. Unless there's something wrong with them, healthy children learn to walk. But still, this is such a miraculous event for children. For parents, the parents just take such delight in watching their child learn to walk. So then after a while, the child is crawling, and then he'll go over and pull himself up on something. And then there's that first step. And when that first step comes, the cameras come out, and they send all the pictures to all the family members and everyone. Oh, look, he's walking. But the child may take another step and fall on his head and hit his head very hard. And we're like that, you know. We're crawling up, we're taking steps, we're trying, but we may have some difficulties. But does the child ever give up? Did the child ever get discouraged? No, the child keeps going until he's running around so much no one can stop him. So this chanting Hare Krishna, seriously, this is how it is. Srila Prabhupada tells a sweet story of how he was walking with his 4-year-old son. And it was at night and the moon was full. And his son looked up at the moon and he said, "Pitta, why is the moon following us?" And Srila Prabhupada said, it's the same way for us. If we're chanting and walking, Krishna is going with us. The moon can do it, why can't Krishna? So Krishna is giving this benefit of chanting because he wants our association. This material world is so dangerous. It's so terribly, terrible activities are going on everywhere, and they've gone on for centuries, and they'll continue to go on. But this is Kali Yuga, so it's even worse. There's danger at every step. Padam, padam, no place for devotees. But this holy name is invested with all the potencies of Krishna. So it's such a kind benediction for people in this age because we're short-lived, we're less intelligent, there's so much mental illness, breakdown of families, so much intoxication. And now this internet thing is causing a whole bunch of problems with gambling and sex addiction. So how do we get to the stage of pure, undeviated bhakti? It's the important sense, our important sense of hearing. It's the most important sense, right? This is the one which wakes us up. So by chanting and listening, it's an extremely powerful process. But we have to make that effort to sincerely hear the holy name. And that means giving up our own desires, giving up our own self-free will to do what we want to do. When we chant seriously, we're approaching Krishna in all his potencies. He's there. He's very powerful. And so we should take this very seriously when we start our japa or kirtan or whatever, because we are like children. But this material world is so miserable. We should be motivated by the misery of this material world to get out of it. Of course, the pure devotee, the unalloyed pure devotee, he doesn't care. He doesn't care if he's in heaven or hell. He doesn't care if he's an animal body, a demigod body, a human body. He just is seeing Krishna and serving Krishna wherever he goes. So ultimately, Krishna is concerned for our welfare. And he's given us this beautiful, beautiful process. Srila Rupa Goswami also states that there's 5 kinds of devotional activities. If one performs or just develops a small attachment for any one of these 5, one can arouse devotional ecstasy even in a neophyte. One is residing in Mathura. So here we are in Vrindavan and having this opportunity to develop an attachment for this holy land. And there's worship of the deity of the Lord. And what deities are more beautiful than Radha Shyam and Krishna Balaram? Reciting Srimad Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam is so wonderful as it gives us insight into Krishna and his devotees and their loving relationships. The 4th one is serving devotees. And here there's so many devotees who come. The opportunity is immense. And service can be so simple, just offering a little prasadam, offering a flower. And of course, chanting the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. As we study the Srimad Bhagavatam and learn more and more about Krishna, we get an understanding of who he is and what these relationships he has with the devotees. And we understand there's 5 primary relationships. On Goloka, there's 3 primary relationships. And in this one pastime of Mother Yasoda, it gives us great insight into the difference between Ashraya, is serving the Lord with awe and reverence, and into his personal relationships. Once when Krishna was out playing with his brother and several of his friends, they all came to Mother Yasoda and complained. Krishna has been eating clay. And Mother Yasoda, because Balaram was there, she took this complaint very seriously, because she knew Balaram cared very much for Krishna and for his welfare. So she immediately went to Krishna and she inquired, "Have you been eating clay?" And Krishna was afraid. "Oh no, I don't want my mother mad at me." So he said, "No, the boys are just mad at me and they're making up stories about me. But you can look in my mouth and you'll see that there's no clay." She said, "Very well." And she sat down, she put him on her lap, and she had him open his mouth. And when she had him do this, she started to see the whole cosmic manifestation. She was seeing complete outer space in all directions, mountains, islands, oceans, continents, air, fire, moon, stars, all the elements. She saw all the demigods, all objects of the senses, material nature, spiritual nature, time, activity, consciousness. She even saw herself taking Krishna on her lap and opening his mouth. Struck with awe and wonder, and wondering if she was dreaming or in some kind of hallucination. And she became very worried, and she thought, maybe I've gone mad. But she said, "No, I'm not mad. This is due to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan. It's because I have forgotten that I'm just an ordinary cowherd woman. And I am thinking that Nanda Maharaj is my husband, and I am thinking that Krishna is my son, and I am thinking that I am the queen of Vrindavan, and all these jewels and cows are mine. But I'm just an ordinary servant of God." So in this way, she immediately started offering prayers and obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, thinking that my Nanda Maharaj is such a devoted, that Narayan has given me this vision so I would not forget my place in this world. So she offered obeisances, and in this way, Krishna became a little confused, or concerned, He became a little concerned. He said, "Oh, who's going to cuddle me? Who's going to hug me now? My mother is becoming so philosophical." She's just worshipping Narayan with great awe and reverence. So again, he took his Yogamaya potency, inspired her to become absorbed in deep, intense maternal affection for her son. The glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are studied through the 3 Vedas, the Upanishads, the literature of Sankhya Yoga, and other Vaishnava literature. Yet, I'm considered that Supreme Person, her child. So he wants this relationship. This relationship gives him more pleasure than the relationship of being worshipped and honored with great honor in awe and reverence. In these basic 5 plenary relationships, there's Santa, one of neutrality, which Vaishnavas don't consider. We don't consider this very seriously, because we are so much attached to devotional service and the opportunity to serve the Lord in some way. And then there's the dasa, the servitorship. And then there's the Sakya, friend. And Krishna has so many wonderful, loving friends in Vrindavan, here in Raman Reti. And then there's Vatsala. And this one is particularly sweet because Krishna is known as Bhakti-Vatsala, because he cares and nurtures his devotees so nicely. But in this case, he allows his devotees to care and nurture him in such a delicate way. And of course the Madhurya Ras. So each one of us has some special relationship. It's there. It's already existing. It's just our business to uncover it, because it's covered by our conditioning in this material world. But we've come so far. Here we are in Vrindavan. Here we are chanting Hare Krishna. Here we are able to take to this process. And so we need to keep going and become even more serious and even more dedicated. Sometime in the future, we can rise out of these material conceptions and actually treat Krishna as a dear, dear friend, or our affectionate child, or the love of our heart. We have this opportunity. It's not artificial. We can't try and jump over and get there artificially to that platform. But it is a simple process by chanting seriously, attentively. If we're chanting attentively, then we're hearing Hare Krishna. If we're not attentive, we may be chanting Shna, 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 and I don't know who Shna is or what he can do for us. So we have to take this chanting of Hare Krishna very, very seriously. So I'll end here and open it up for any discussion or comments or questions or subtractions. Please grab the microphone if you... Mother Parvati asked me to make sure we use the microphone. Thank you. Vishaka.
Say something which might be a little stupid.
No, please.
You were saying how pure devotee doesn't care if he goes to hell, heaven, or whatever body. So theoretically it sounds right, but practically speaking, how would you serve Krishna in a cockroach body?
I can't tell you, but Krishna has amazing plans. I'm sure Krishna wouldn't put somebody in a cockroach body if they couldn't serve him properly. But they don't care because they are so much engaged in Krishna's service. And because we don't have that experience yet, it's hard to understand some of these things that we haven't actually experienced yet.
Many times, like all 16.
No, Parvati once, because they can't hear on the internet if you don't talk. Yeah.
All the 16 rounds are not perfect.
No.
Okay?
It's our effort that has to be perfect. Our effort has to be sincere. And because really, on our own, we're not going to be able to accomplish anything. It's only by the mercy of Guru and Gauranga. So we have to pray for their mercy. But that prayer can be through our chanting. So if we're praying and chanting for that mercy to actually purely chant this holy name, it will improve our japa. It'll improve our ability to hear.
Thank you.
Thank you. All righty, are we finished? Jai. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.